Welcome to another Sunday and slash show. Got Evan V here with me. We're going to talk a little bit about these new running backs, Hollywood Smothers, Raleek Brown, and exactly how they fit and work into Steve Sarkisian's scheme and offense. But first, guys, make sure you're taking advantage of that Inside Texas and On 3 flash sale. $1 will get you 3 months. I get you almost all the way to football season, guys. So again, softball team still alive, baseball team still alive. Women's golf team at nationals right now competing for a national title, men's golf right behind, and again, all the off-season content. So come over to Inside Texas on 3 for just $1, man, to come hang out with us. Good morning to the chat. Cotton, appreciate you being out here with us early, bud. Got a long day of flag football coming up, so I had to wake up Evan early. I had to place a couple extra calls, be his alarm this morning. But no, thank you, Evan, for being here, Mr. Bennett. Good to see you as always. But yeah, man, let's get into it, brother. Sark's pretty good, I feel like, at working towards his personnel. That's one of my favorite attributes about Sark. It's not like he's just married to a particular scheme or system. He does a good job at adjusting. But at the same time, if he can do what he prefers to do, if he can have that type of player between receiver, quarterback, running back, of course, every offensive coach has a big vision in mind of what that type of offense in an optimal world would look like. We lacked a little bit of juice in the running back room the last couple of seasons. We've talked about a lot here on Inside Texas and, of course, over on InsideTexas.com on the forums. How do these new guys fit into it, man? We're all excited, but let's talk a little bit more in depth on, hey, some of the things that these guys do well that Sark can really take advantage of. Evan, what are you thinking, brother?
Yeah, I think when I first look at this duo and what they do well, Smothers is really good at moving laterally, but then kind of pressing forward when the zone hole comes up, and you're trying to develop something between the right tackle and right guard, and then it just kind of explodes. And that's why it's funny. I'd known about Hollywood Smothers a while ago because I play your dynasty fantasy football, and he was a legitimate draft prospect for a while, the 8th guy in the draft. But Dalen Smothers was a name to know, and then you put on the tape at NC State, and you're going, this guy just, once he chooses to hit the hole, it is violent. It is an attack. He is going north and south. I think one of the big problems you had with, I think, Wisner more than Baxter in particular was, Wisner had the tendency to kind of dance around a little bit and try to find, play a little more into a looseness he didn't have and try to find something that wasn't there. I think what you're going to have a little bit more with these two is decisiveness and the ability to just kind of take what's given to them. He's also got pretty good contact balance. That's probably his best trait comparatively to Brown, where Brown's going to try to just kind of go through people a little bit more, use that low center of gravity, whereas I think Smothers is really good at kind of taking a hit and not letting that first guy get to him and get him down. And of course, Brown is that true home run hitter. I think in some ways he's kind of been propelled to that number one spot by maybe not quite the media, but I think a lot of people think he's going to be the guy in this running back room. And we talked about it before earlier in the season. I was more on Smothers and think he's still probably going to be the number one in touches. But Brown being more in yardage is not out of the question. When they're running duo in these schemes where it's just kind of open a crease up and go, he's going to have some home run potential to just go and run by people. And obviously they're going to get him out in those swing pass games. And I think he's going to be better as the short yardage, actually, which is not quite on the scouting report you might have seen. But he had, I think, 20 more first downs than Smothers did last year. And obviously that was on more attempts. But he's definitely the kind of guy that can go and grind you a few yards down at the goal line or at the line of scrimmage on 3rd and short. So I'm really excited for these two. I think they're going to be kind of the forgotten upgrade of this team until we get to that Ohio State game. You go, oh, right, it's not Wisner and Baxter anymore. It's these dudes.
Yeah, man, all great points. And good morning to you, Roaster. Appreciate you being here as always. And in kind of touching on it here, I got our guy, Packing R48. I mean, I'm not going to go this far, Pat. I appreciate you being here and commenting, brother. I do appreciate that, man. I think it says a lot that the staff went back and chose to, pursue Hollywood Smothers after he was at Bama, after Texas already has Raleek Brown in the fold. I think that's pretty telling. I agree with you on that, Evan. I think he's really good at churning his feet. He's not the most physically imposing back, like you see him, but he got a really good lower body strength. He moves the pile a little bit better than a guy of his size would. And I think that is something, obviously, just talking about. Didn't do a lot of pile moving last year in the running game. And then also, like you said, couldn't get to the second level, couldn't get to the third level, even when you got deeper into that depth chart last year. And, everybody on Inside Texas by now knows how I feel about Christian Clark. Even that, a lot of hesitancy, a lot of dancing and kind of waiting, sometimes over patient. And then there's times where it's just the vision was really, really blurry. That's where Trey that's where he stood out in comparison to the rest of that running back room. He had a lot better vision. There's times where we're just running into the back of our own blockers. There's a hole 2 yards to the right, and we cut to the left. I mean, and again, I'm not going to say anything is better, but again, I think Texas found pretty good assets with what Steve Sarkisian wants to do. He's going to absolutely, like you said, he's going to get involved in the swing game. You're going to get involved in, some of your Texas routes or angle routes. Like the running backs are going to be involved in the passing game. Just off the top of your head, whether it be Smothers or Brown, is there another Texas back, in recent history that, you kind of expect the same, usage out of Smothers or Brown that player got, when it comes to just strictly the passing game, whether it be like Keelan Robinson was a guy that, obviously Texas got out on, on the swing passes and stuff like that, just to name. But any idea or any names that pop into your head, brother?
Yeah, that's tough because I just think this room is, at least in the Sark era, probably a unique one and not truly comparable to any of the. He's went through so many different iterations, really, because you had Bijan as kind of this true number one, and you just got to get in the ball all the time, which isn't quite what these guys are. They're great running backs, but not right. Bijan Robinson. And Roschon was behind him and make probably the best duo in the country. And then you had Jonathan Brooks, who was mostly a bell cow. Baxter played, but it was mostly the Brooks downhill run show. And then it became kind of Wisner and Jaden Blue. So I don't think it's going to be as specialized as it was with Jaden Blue and Keelan Robinson, where like if they're in the game, then you're like the pass is a real big part of the scout with those two. I don't know if it's quite to that level with someone like Smothers or Brown. I would think that Smothers is the slightly more targeted running back of the two. What they did at NC State, which I think it was Ian who pointed it out the first time that I only noticed it until after he pointed out that a lot of times when they throw the ball, they wouldn't put him in pass protection. They would just kind of throw him out in the flat and just have an extra body and an extra option for their quarterback. And so he'd catch a lot of these passes that were kind of out of structure and just you have a linebacker on you one-on-one. It's our best option. Can you go get us 8 yards? And he was really good at doing that. It wasn't quite the same with Raleek Brown at Arizona State. If he got the ball, it's a little bit more designed. And I don't think that's his biggest strength in the game. So I would say Smothers is the one that would take more of the touches in the passing game. The pass blocking is definitely a spot where you have to look and go like, how much can these guys do? How much can they handle? Especially with Smothers, because like we've talked about, if they're going to weigh about the same amount, it's going to look stronger on Brown, who's shorter. And that's just a little bit easier to block these linebackers that aren't quite NFL sized if you can just kind of get low on them and push up. But Smothers might have problems with that. That was something they didn't ask him to do a lot at NC State. I don't know if there's a comparison, in recent Texas time, because it just feels like with both Herman and early Sark, it was a lot of just, let's get the best guy out there. And if they're going to catch passes, they're going to catch passes. But it hasn't been this true split in quite some time. And you're a little better at the late 2010s Texas teams. Like when was the last time it was a true like 1A, 1B?
Man, it's been a little while.
Right. Yeah.
I get it. It's been a little while. So I don't think there's been a true, 1A, 1B since before Herman, to be honest with you, not like a true 1A, 1B. And then Strong's last year, you have Foreman. Obviously, that was not a backfield, a platoon system being going on. Yeah, that's a good question, man. I have to think on that a little bit. You perplexed me. That's tough to do, man. Generally, by the postseason, Derek Cooper can get at least an even share. Hey, man, I don't hate that take at all. I think that's a great take because I think as the season goes on and you have all these defenses and there's all the speed of Texas, there's going to be so many options in the red zone that Texas should be able to use. If you have improved O-line play just a little bit, we'll be better in the red zone. But, man, with a pretty significant jump in O-line play, like Texas can be very, very scary down there. But, yeah, I think Derek Cooper can be a big part of this offense. I really like the point where you're saying towards the back half of this season. What about you, Evan? Do you think Derek Cooper has a chance to come on late and really help the offense?
Sark doesn't shy away from getting these freshman touches. Like he wants to. You remember Jarrett Gibson? Like he got a touchdown against Michigan. They were seriously trying to ramp him up to be the number 2 or the number 1 on this team, especially given Baxter's injury. And then, you know what? You fumble in practice. Sure, that's what's going to happen. So I do think that Cooper will get some early opportunity. He'll get a lot of touches in weeks 1 and 3 when Sark just is like, we're going to win this game, but we still need kind of our 1.5s in for most of it. He's going to get a chance there. Cooper is just a different level of athlete than these two. Like you're talking about what their maximum NFL prospect model could be. He clearly is the one of the three that's like at his peak, could be that first round pick.
Yeah.
Just really, really efficient runner, big kind of player. He's a really good runner. The problem with him was like can he be smart enough to hit the right hole when he comes in immediately and know where to go? Part of that's on Sark to just scheme it easily, and that's not too hard for a true freshman when you're getting him very specific touches. But I really do agree with Logan Thompson. Shout out the Caps goalie. I do agree that like Cooper is going to be maybe really, really late in the year. There's a game where I think like week 11 or 12, he's just a little bit of a secret weapon that a team is not quite ready for. And that can carry some momentum into the playoffs. That happens with players. I mean, Jonah Williams kind of had that on the defensive side of the ball this last year where they got him in late in the season and really gave him an opportunity. So I think Cooper, like that's a healthy split to have three people, but it's also just if he ends up being the best back of the three, like how many of you would be truly surprised? Like if he just is the number one by the end of the year, it would surprise me, but it wouldn't be like, no way, that's what happens.
I mean, that's a situation that only really benefits the Texas program, come November, December, January, if that turns out to be true. Hey, welcome Coach Dub into the show. And glad to have you here, Coach. Thanks for spending, some Memorial Day weekend in here with the fellas. Just talking a little bit of running backs, talking a little Derek Cooper, Hollywood Smothers for Leek Brown, and kind of how they fit. But real quick, guys, we're going to take our first media break. We're going to go to hear a word from Andre the Lawyer, and we'll be right back.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
How we doing, Coach Dub?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I want to talk some running backs, yo. You know what I'm saying? So
Hey.
I'm excited about it. We got some transfers in, exciting freshmen. So it's like, man, I want to join in on this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. I love having you here, my man. Coach said he had a little bit of computer issues. Welcome hop on here on Sundays. We got Coach and Evan getting kind of rotating out on Sundays, man. It's my guys. I appreciate y'all helping me out here. Coach, what you agree last year that some 30-yard runs may have been could have maybe with different back been 60. It seemed like last year at times the O-line really did their part. Ohio State game, a couple other games throughout the line. Like Evan talked about earlier, hey, we just didn't get to the second or third level because we just can't make a guy miss, or we choose the wrong hole. All right, we just got muddy vision. What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's tough. I think a lot of times, like most plays are designed, they're blocked for 5 or 6 yards, right? It's up to the running back to go ahead and get that extra yard. Like pretty much every single time, right? You got to make the defender miss at the second level and third level sometimes. And so I just don't think we had that unless we play A&M Oklahoma. We never saw it, right? I think Trey Wiseman was the Oklahoma A&M killer. But other than that, we just didn't see it. We didn't have that explosion or vision at running back. I feel like sometimes we were just running where the play's designed and just, hey, we get to the defender, fall down, right? It just didn't have it as a running back. And so we've been missing that dynamic type of running back. I know a few years ago, I don't know if y'all guys remember, Bijan and Roshan and Brooks, they were getting touched behind the line of scrimmage, but they made people miss, right, in the backfield. I think we had the most missed tackles in the backfield of any other team, right? So they had the ability to make people miss at all levels, behind the line of scrimmage and then the third level. So I think with these running backs, we'll finally see that again. I think the offensive line towards the end of the season started to gel. They started creating holes. We just couldn't take advantage of it. And so with these guys, they got the ability to make their own holes, right? Like they may bounce it outside. They may see something that wasn't there before. Even if the offensive line hasn't set up that crease for them, they're able to see it. And so I think that is going to help a long way with bouncing runs for longer runs, 30s, maybe 60 yards. I would love to see that again because it's been a long time since we've seen a running back go 50 yards out, right, on a consistent basis. So I think we may see that from multiple running backs this season.
Yeah, it felt like, anytime that Bijan got the ball in Austin, it was like there's a chance he scores. It didn't matter if he was on the 5, the -5, the +5, or the 50. It felt like there was a chance he scored. And that's a good point, man. It's funny what having, an elite back, how much it can cover up some maybe a suboptimal O-line play. And I continue to try to make that point that I really think Bijan hit a few things as far as where we were at with O-line play, especially considering we're in the Big 12 conference, and that we still had guys getting in the backfield consistently, really struggle with those smaller guys. And the Big 12 is going to have a few, on average, smaller defensive lines than these SEC schools. How about this, fellas? Chris Bennett's asking if we think Sark gets back to having a 1,000-yard rusher this season.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I think they're just by the number of games we're expecting them to play, which I know we did this last year, but if they play 14 games total, they got to have an 1,000-yard rusher in there. It's just that if the O-line and running backs are just better, it's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I think we get to 1,000-yard rusher. Maybe before even get to the playoffs or postseason games. Honestly, I feel like we got the running backs who you're gonna have some games where they just go for 150, close to 200 because they just, when you get explosive runs, they add up. You get to yardage kind of quick, right? And so you get 2 60-yard runs, you're at 120, right? So I think you'll probably see it maybe before season's end. I think the guy who only can stop 1,000-yard rusher is the guy calling plays. That's it.
Let's have a little bit of fun right here. Random question for you fellas: over or under 2.5 50-plus yard runs for Raleek Brown? I'm going over.
I can see the over for sure. That it almost feels a little random because sometimes that's just a byproduct of the defense playing it wrong. Right. But I could definitely see him getting 350. Yeah, I could see him getting 350-yard runs.
Thanks for the shot, Coach.
I'm gonna go over. You want to look at the first couple games of the season? He's gonna get that. Yep. Hey, no shot at GJ in Texas State.
I was gonna say Texas State.
I love you, GJ. But,
I can see a 2-minute third quarter, 60-yard scamper right there. I mean, hey, like it's possible. Chris is always on top of it. We asked earlier, kind of last time Texas had a real 1A, 1B, backfield punch, and so there's a really good pool right there. VY said, both running for 1,000 yards is pretty tough. I don't think Arch Manning is going to run for 1,000 yards, but if Texas wanted him to, he probably could. Like if Sark, if this is, a different last name and maybe doesn't have the arm that he has, you don't have those receivers. If he really needed to be involved in the game plan with his legs, like he could get there 14 games, ability to, obviously sack yardage could really hurt, but that's a good pull, Chris, as always. Ricky and Sean Mitchell, another good one. Are we a running back away from winning the national championship in 2024? Man, kind of hard to argue because
I've been more on they needed one more outside receiver than it was the running back position. I thought Blue was a little underused, and I know he had his problems, but I think they needed to find a few more ways to get him out into space and explosive. But when Golden went out late in that season at times, and when he was clearly playing hurt, like it was Demo in the slot who was good and had his moments, and then Bond was nothing, and Wingo was a freshman who kind of was just here's the ball, go. Like it wasn't a lot of route running for him, which he was a true freshman. That was Ryan Wingo. That's fine, but yeah, I think more than anything they needed Isaiah Bond to have been good than to need another running back.
I was going to say, I actually agree with that. I think we needed Bond to be Bond that he was early in the season before it ever happened. Because I think Trey rushed for over 1,000 yards that season, right? That was kind of his breakdown.
Yeah.
Like, Trey could be our dependable running back. And so, I don't think it was running back. I think we needed another receiver on the outside of Golden because you had, DeAndre Moore in the slot. You still had Gunnar Ham. You had some weapons, right?
You did.
I think an outside receiver would have helped.
I mean, it would have been nice to have Bijan Robinson on that team, or if Brooks had come back. Like, of course, that would have helped more, but I just don't think that was. And it's also sometimes like they lost to the national champion, and part of the reason they lost was because of 2 ginormous flux plays. They lost by 14. One of them came off a 75-yard last play screen and a almost 14-point swing strip fumble at the goal line. That's sometimes just what happens when you play a good team and you don't win. But that's where having another receiver during that game would have been real nice.
I want to throw that ball, baby. Give me another receiver out there. Yeah. Give me a 6'4" red zone target. Give me somebody that Caleb Downs got to go pay extra attention to out there. God, I'm so glad that man's not playing college football ever again. God, Lord. I'm not going to say never again because we see what's going on in college basketball. I'm just saying, can't rule anything out these days in this crazy world. This is a good pull, Chris, going back to Joe B and Jonathan Gray. That was probably the most legit, on topic 1-2 punch Texas has had since hopefully this season here. That I'm being on in 2023, man. I don't know if Texas has beaten Michigan, Blake. I'd like to think so. I definitely feel like we get by Washington. But I'm worried about that. I would have been real worried about that Michigan front versus our front, to be honest, in that particular season. That Michigan front was dirty, man.
Yeah, and that Michigan defense would have been all over Quinn and everybody else. I don't see it. They were just elite that year.
We'd have had to win that game like 17-14, 27, something like that. And we didn't have the defense for that yet.
I coached against that defense. We went to Ann Arbor, UNLV. We played in Ann Arbor. I saw that defense up close and
Oh
personal.
yeah, okay.
They were good. No, at every level, even second and third team was good.
The one point I'll say in Texas' favor is I think they matched up better than Washington did, because Washington couldn't just throw on these bad cornerbacks that Texas had the same way at Michigan with Will Johnson and everyone. But yeah, I mean the run game would have been, if Sweat and Murphy had had life games, which I mean they were having life games their whole season, but if they were the best players on the field, then maybe we're talking about Texas taking home a low-scoring game. But that Michigan team was a wagon. That was a juggernaut.
It's not fair.
They were tough. I know it's always fun to talk about it. And again, Texas had a better chance of beating Ohio State in 2024 than Michigan in 2023, in my opinion. Easy to say that in hindsight, without that Ohio State game win, knowing we had very well could have won that game. Wisner, man, we love Trey, man. He's going to go make a little bit of money, man. But that's the thing. It's you look at Texas's long lineage of backs, you know what I mean? And it's no disrespect to Trey. It's just, man, there's some really, really special names in there, can do some really, really special things. And the big play ability, the home run hitting ability, that's what this Texas, I think that's Texas backfield found with Ridley Brown and potentially Hollywood Smothers, paired with Sark's scheme, and he's gonna put them. Yeah, this will be fun. How do you defend Texas, Coach? Once Texas shows they can go hit the vertical shots, they can hit you on the outside on the numbers, they can attack you on the seams. Arch is hitting the post over concepts. What do you start doing, man? Good luck, because you start leaking these backs out, like you just Evan talked about earlier. Just kind of how North Carolina State used Hollywood Smothers, just making defenses defend another player, making sure he's accounted for, but it's also kind of like a check down option. He's your safety valve, right? And then all of a sudden you got that one-on-one with a linebacker, and you're depending on that linebacker to come up with a one-on-one tackle in open space to prevent a 3rd and 3 conversion and keep your defense, get your defense off the field. Is there I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
Well, I say this: you never you look at players, yeah, they're great, but you attack the scheme, right? I give you false numbers. If I go 3 high, you thinking, well, they're playing prevent. No, that middle safety is really in the box. He's unaccounted for, right? You're playing Tampa 2 on the outside. Those corners are really setting the edge. They're in the run game. So you think you have numbers advantage when you really don't. Yeah, run the ball, right? I still got 7 or 8 around the run, right? You think I don't, because you see 3 safeties back deep. So you got to confuse the play caller. Get him out of okay, we got to throw the ball. We have to do this, right? And when you run, you're doing exactly what you want the defense to do, right? And so you got to play with the play caller and attack the scheme versus, hey, or say, hey, I'll let you run the ball in between the 20s, but once you get inside the red zone, high red zone, now you got to play real football, right? I can, squeeze it and do whatever. So it really just depends. You attack the scheme, though. That's the biggest thing. Not so worried about, because we got so many running backs at Texas, we can throw so many guys out there. You kind of attack the scheme, take the names off and attack the scheme.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point, man. That's what you got to do. You can't pay attention to the names. I feel like you got to be aggressive. You can't let Texas be, you can't let Texas just dictate the football game and play the ball control, play what type of game they want to play.
And I'll say this: you saw a lot more teams play Cam Coleman man up last year. Everywhere here, and forget he played for Auburn, whatever the quarterback is. Teams still manned him up and say, I trust my corner. I'll take my chances. So you got to kind of be able to live with it, because that's what we're going to do on defense with our corners, right? So if you feel like you got a corner that can say, hey, I'm going to match up, whatever the case, I'm going to stop this run and dictate when you're going to throw, then it's less effective. So, I mean, hey, it's football at the end of the day, man. You got to go earn it and prove it.
It's not a scenario in which, Cam Coleman catches one 50-50 ball for 40 yards of DKR, and the defense is like, we gotta shelve everything. Yeah. We're trashing it all. We're going back to the drawing boards and a new scheme. Texas is going to have big plays in every game they play, and these defenses aren't going to panic. They're going to make Texas earn. In my opinion, you have to sustain drive after drive after drive with this group. Maybe you'll catch teams being aggressive at times. Sure, but the good defenses are going to really make Texas prove hey, you're not going to beat yourself with penalty. Quarterback, running back is going to make correct reads. And then, hey, when you get in the red zone, you actually prove that, for one, maybe you make correct decisions. I'm not knocking Sark. I just know that our fan base is up and down on the decision making. And then 2, can you execute down there? And so, yeah, it was a fun year for Matt Golden, man. But yeah, all the hype with Isaiah Bond coming into that season, and in the Colorado State game in particular, he looked pretty good and showed the juice. But credit to Sark and staff and Matt Golden, obviously, for showing who was number 1 on that group. And so he came on. I mean, one of my favorite receivers of all time, and he played for Texas for 1 year, man. It was a fun back half of that season.
One thing I will also add on the topic of stopping the offense and what you can do is this is still you would be disingenuous to say the theoretical ceiling of this offense isn't like the best in college football. Pretty obviously, like it's Arch Manning, Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo, all these guys, but still a lot of it is theoretical, right? Like there are still warts to a lot of these players' games that need to be figured out, and that a defense can exploit. Like Arch Manning still struggles to throw a screen pass. Like that is on the scouting report. We don't know how that's going to look in the first 2 weeks of the season, and that still might be an issue. Really, Brown had drop and fumble problems. Like he doesn't have the best ball security of a running back. Even past Coleman, like Wingo still has his drop problems from last year and wasn't the best route runner and wasn't the best one-on-one go beat a guy downfield. Even Arch Manning wasn't like a perfect deep ball thrower, and who knows what the left guard position looks like. So that is the thing. Like something's going to come up with this offense that ends up hurting them, and that's just the nature of college football and sports. Like once you actually play the games, things are going to come up. That is to say, like in their very, very highest peak, if we're talking when they're playing like LSU and it really is clicking, like Blake Baker's going to have his hands full because it's just hard to play man coverage against these guys who are just going to run right by your players. But also you get into zones and try to sit deeper. You have guys that can run the ball and 2 tight ends, really 4 tight ends they can throw onto the field that can make your life pretty miserable at times.
And then you turn around, play man coverage, and you turn your back to Arch Manning, and next thing you know, you're chasing that guy 30 yards down the field.
That's the X factor.
That's a big thing, man. Arch being comfortable, him being composed in that pocket, having the right mental clock, and then just, playing just relaxed football. Because when he does that, I see, he's patient, and that's when his legs really, really take over because he'll scramble to throw. He'll scramble to run, and has really good control and pocket poise in there. So, hey, man, like we loved, obviously, what we saw out of Arch Manning for a lot of that back half of the season, man, especially, and the legs were a big part of it. Look at the A&M game, kind of iced that one with his legs there. You look at the Michigan game, feels like he kind of iced that one with his legs there. He made several plays in that game where he's scrambling to throw. And so, again, it's all about just a play breaks down and guys were scrambling to pick up 4 or 5 yards. He did a good job, but, running 10, 12, 15 yards to throw it back across the field or find a guy on the sideline. Think about the Oklahoma play. He half rolls out on the right side against a really good concept on a huge 3rd down. And I think it was Parker that he found, right there on that sideline there. One of the biggest plays of that game that a lot of people don't talk about until you really look into that. And Blake, that Bama team did give Michigan all they wanted, but that Bama team was a hell of a lot better than they were in September when Texas went over to Tuscaloosa. They were a lot smarter with how they approached the game on offense, and they weren't really making Milroe weren't given the same reads that he had early in the season. Don't forget that guy was benched for that South Florida first half. That crazy stuff. Good points. So 1,000-yard receiver. It's going to be really, really close. I'd be kind of shocked to you guys. I think me and Evan kind of did that. We predicted stats here a little bit not long ago, and I think we both had 1,000-yard receiver in there, close to 2.
Yeah, we almost had 1,000 last year. I think you can get 2,000-yard receivers, especially with the offense if it's spread out like that. So you got a few games in there where I don't think teams can defend Texas, no matter what they do. Right? You might be a stat padding game. So I think you might get 2 receivers of 1,000 yards. Yeah,
I'm gonna go hang out with Coach Will Wyndham of the Texas State Bobcats, their new DC. I'm going to ask him here in about 2 hours exactly what he plans to do with all these weapons that Texas has. I've tried not to bother him too much with it all. But I'm going to let you guys get out of here. I got to get to the fields. Evan, Coach Dub, always appreciate you guys hopping on here with me on Sunday for these guys doing the live show. All you guys in the comments, man, appreciate y'all getting involved and sharing opinions and thoughts. And I think we had a really good comment section today. So I appreciate the takes, guys. Coach and Evan, y'all have a great rest of your Sunday. Same for you, chat. And don't forget about that IT flash sale. $1 will get you 3 months. Come hang out on the boards with us. 3:30 softball, Texas, Arizona State, game 3 today. You got the Lady Longhorn golf program on the course right now out in Carlsbad at Omni La Costa in round 3 of stroke play. They entered the day tied for 8th. They need to finish the day in 15th or better, and they'll move on to the they cut down from 30 to 15 teams to going into tomorrow, and then after that you got to be in the top 8. They got a lot of golf to play in the next few days, and then the men will be right behind them next week. All right, guys, thank y'all very much. Thanks for watching Inside Texas Hook'em Horns.